Most of you guys want to get to Legend, and I think I found a team that is going to work for a lot of you guys. Fingers crossed. I have so much hope in this team. Let me tell you why. Because so far, every single set I have played with this team has been positive. Also, look at my elo at the start of this video. It is terrible. We start off at 2,689, and today in just, I want to say 6 or 7 sets, I was able to climb back up to the 2,900s. So that is a 200-point climb. And I have not had a single negative set with this team. Every single set has been positive. And I was able to beat the hardest counter to this team. We are talking Claydol Double Fairy. Claydol with a Shadow Gardevoir and a Galarian Rapidash in the back. I was able to beat them with just a little bit of good energy management, which is why I have so much hope for this team. I just need you guys to take my advice. I am going to go into a little bit of a deep dive at the beginning of this video on how you can make this team work for you. Just as a heads up, it's going to be some very beginner-friendly explanations. I'm going to go over some basics on fast move timing and energy management. So if you're already advanced in GBL, you can go ahead and skip those explanations and just take a look at my battles and see how well this team was performing for me. Now, the reason why I'm going to do this a little bit differently in this video is because most of my success wasn't just coming from the Pokemon on this team, which are very solid. The team is going to be a normal Drapion on the lead, not Shadow, with the Mandibuzz on the safe swap and Primeape running Cross Chop in the back. You can run it with close combats. But the main reason I was finding so much success with this team was because of my energy management and my fast move timing. Also, my shield prioritization, which for the most part, I was saving shields for Primeape, and Primeape was able to sweep a lot of the Pokemon that my opponents had in the back. Primeape with 2 shields against a Claydol is devastating, let me tell you guys that. Oh, also, just as a heads up, and also before you guys call me dumb, I am running Snarl on Mandibuzz for the beginning of the video. I then later switch it up to Air Slash. I was running Snarl on Mandibuzz because I was expecting to see a lot more Shadow Gardevoirs, and against Shadow Gardevoir, Snarl Mandibuzz can reach 2 charged moves, whereas Air Slash Mandibuzz can only reach 1 charged move. So because I'm using the Mandibuzz as a safe swap to draw the fairy types out, I kind of felt like I needed that Snarl because I needed to reach those charged moves faster. However, it turns out that people are running the Dark and Poison types a lot more than Shadow Gardevoir. Shadow Gardevoir wasn't as common as I thought it would be. Also, Snarl is going to be neutral against all of the fairy types in this meta because they all have that secondary psychic typing, which means they are going to be taking neutral from dark type moves. But in the end, I switched it off to Air Slash because I needed that neutral damage against, first of all, the mirror match, the Mandibuzz mirror match, and the poison and dark types. All right, let's get into what I wanted to explain. Now, a lot of people are probably just going to open my video, take the team, and then go tap and hope they can win with it. But I want you guys to succeed. If you are slightly more beginner at GBL, please listen to what I'm going to say. Fast move timing is everything with this team. Because of how spammy the Pokemon on this team are, every bit of energy you can get on these Pokemon is going to be extremely important to you because you might be able to reach that game-changing charged move. Same for your opponent. Every bit of energy they can get is going to be extremely important to them. And that is why you want to throw on really good timing, and you do not want your opponent to sneak in any unwanted fast moves. So I've gone ahead and created a very simplified fast move chart for you guys. This is very specific to the Willpower Cup because it includes all of the fast moves that you guys are going to most commonly see in this cup. And I've only included 2 and 3 turn moves because I don't think you guys are going to run into any 4 turn or 5 turn moves in the Willpower Cup specifically. So just focus on 2 and 3 turn fast move timing and you guys will be good. So remember, if you're running that Mandibuzz with Air Slash, which is a 3-turn move, and your opponent is running a 2-turn move on their Pokemon, then you are going to want to throw on odd numbers. So every 1 or 3 or 5 or 7 Air Slashes you do, you throw your charged move. Do not throw on alignment. So what does alignment mean? Alignment is basically when your fast move ends, your fast move animation ends, and your opponent's fast move animation ends, and they meet up at the same time. That is alignment. If you throw on alignment, your opponent is going to get an entire fast move in. So let's say, for example, your opponent is running Poison Sting, which is a 2-turn move. If your opponent does 3 Poison Stings, that's going to be 6 turns. If you do 2 Air Slashes, that's also going to be 6 turns. So if you throw after 2 Air Slashes, your opponent gets another Poison Sting in. So they will get that 4th Poison Sting, and you do not want them to get that. That's all I want to cover for that. I don't want to spend too long on this, but hopefully you guys will get a little bit of a better idea of what good fast move timing is. Feel free to pause the video and take a look at this chart if you want to, but you guys will get better at this with practice. Just practice, trust me, you'll get a hang of it. All right, let's get into these battles because I have some good ones for you guys today. Up first, we are going to be up against a Mandibuzz on the lead. We are running that Drapion, so this is perfectly fine. I just don't want this Mandibuzz to see my Primeape. And for the most part, Mandibuzz on the lead is going to have 2 answers to fairy types in the back. There are a lot of people that are running Mandibuzz double poison. Okay, so my opponent brings out their first poison type, which is going to be a Shadow Drapion. I go for an Aqua Tail first to weaken them, because now if I bring in Mandibuzz, I only need 2 aerial aces against this Drapion to take it out. Okay, now I don't want my opponent to reach another Aqua Tail, so I'm just going to throw the aerial ace immediately, but my opponent manages to catch it on their Mandibuzz. I'm actually okay with this. Like I said, I need this Mandibuzz out of the way, and my Primeape is going to be able to take care of the... I'm expecting my opponent to have 2 poison types in the back, so my Primeape should be able to take care of the Drapion and whatever their 3rd Pokemon is going to be. Now, my opponent does something a little bit annoying here. I bring in Primeape hoping I can Karate Chop their Mandibuzz down, but my opponent swaps out immediately into their Drapion. We're not able to farm them down, so I have to go for a Rage Fist, and then they even shield. Because we CMP tied on that move, they have an Aqua Tail, and they're able to take both of our shields from us. Now, I'm going to go for a Rage Fist here against this Skuntank. Maybe I should have just gone for a Cross Chop, but I do manage to catch the crunch on my Mandibuzz. But keep in mind, their Mandy is still alive in the back with very little HP, so I need to watch for a catch, which I did, but they managed to get an Air Slash through and take our Primeape out, and they are going to take that win. GG's to our opponent. Saving that Mandibuzz was my downfall. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against a terrible lead of Claydol. Now, Claydol leads usually have a fairy type in the back, and I really need to draw that out. But against a Claydol lead, I will not swap into Mandibuzz. I will bring in Primeape. Now, I swap into Primeape, and my opponent actually brings out a Hisui and Quillfish. I'm going to go ahead and shield whatever they're going to throw. They go for an Aqua Tail. I'm going to be able to go for another Cross Chop here, and my opponent actually lets their Quillfish go. This is good. At least I get the Quillfish out of the way, but they still have a Galarian Rapidash in the back. But because I have alignment, I am going to be able to align my Drapion to their Rapidash. Now, I'm expecting this to be the big move, which in most cases they are going to be running a Mega Horn. So I go ahead and shield my Drapion there. We shielded a Mega Horn successfully, and now I am going to have Mandibuzz aligned to their Claydol. Unfortunately, the Ice Beams are going to hurt, but 2 is not going to be enough to take us out. And I also want to try to leave this with a little bit of energy so that I could reach a move against their Rapidash. We go for an Aerial Ace. I'm able to go for a Dark Pulse against Rapidash, and it gets them into the red. They have no shields left. I have a little bit of energy on my Drapion. I'm going to be able to go for an Aqua Tail, and we take them out and take that win. That was a Claydol on the lead with a fairy type in the back, and we still managed to win that. Okay, I know I said at the beginning of this video that we weren't going to see any 5-turn fast moves in Willpower Cup, but I guess if you run into an Armarouge, then yeah, you will see some Incinerate users, but that's really rare. But anyways, we get a really nice lead of Armarouge. We are running Drapion, and Drapion is going to do really well against that. My opponent safe swaps into a Guzzlord. I'm able to take the Guzzlord out with a cross chop from my Primeape and the karate chop damage, and then I'm even able to reach a Rage Fist on the Armarouge. We get them into the red, and then instead of bringing in my Drapion, I decide to tank whatever move the Armarouge is going to throw onto my Mandibuzz, and their Armarouge is not scary anymore. Their final Pokemon is going to be Mandibuzz. We still have a full health Drapion and a pretty healthy Mandibuzz to take care of my opponent's Mandibuzz, so we should be in a good place. Also, my Drapion has so much energy loaded up because we didn't throw a move on their first Pokemon. And my opponent brings their Armarouge back in here, and surprisingly, we're able to Poison Sting them down. I really thought my opponent was going to be able to reach another Flame Charge, but they don't, and now we have so much energy for this Mandibuzz. I am going to be able to reach 2 Aqua Tails, and my opponent isn't going to shield because they know I'm going to be able to reach an Aerial Ace on my own Mandibuzz. So we are going to take that win, but really nice pick with the Armarouge. That is such a spicy pick. GG's to our opponent, and that is going to be a 4-1 in that first set. Moving on to the next battle, these are from the next day. We are going to be up against a Mandibuzz on the lead. Now, you guys have already seen how I handle Mandibuzz lead. For the most part, I will try to soft lose this lead with my Drapion, get it really low, and then I'll come in with my own Mandibuzz and farm them down. I should be able to get them into the red with my Drapion, but in a lot of cases, my opponents are swapping out into one of their poison types, which in most cases, it is that Drapion. They bring in the Drapion here. I will go for an Aqua Tail from my own Drapion before bringing in my Mandibuzz and going for these Aerial Aces. Again, still running that Snarl, but yeah, we are going to be able to comfortably take these Aqua Tails, and then I should be able to do one more Snarl and then go for another Aerial Ace here. And this is going to be enough to take this Drapion out. Now we are in the red, but we are in trouble of being farmed down by their Air Slash Mandibuzz. At least my opponent goes for CMP here and gets rid of some of their energy. Now I can come in with my Drapion, and I should be able to reach an Aqua Tail. This Aerial Ace is not going to KO us. Yes, we reached that Aqua Tail, and now I still have 2 shields left for my Primeape. My opponent even gave up a shield there. This is really good. We have shield advantage going into this final Pokemon, and it is going to be a Skuntank, a Shadow Skuntank. And this is where Cross Chop is going to be very useful for me. Now we are buffed one time by a Rage Fist. I'm able to reach 2 Cross Chops before they can Poison Jab us down. The second one is going to be enough to take their Skuntank out, and we take that win. Now at this point, I decide, you know what, I'm just going to TM Air Slash onto this Mandibuzz. I did not like getting farmed down by the opponent's Mandibuzz there. I learned my lesson, but yeah, from here on out, we're going to run it with Air Slash. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against a terrible lead of Claydol, and this time, instead of swapping into my Primeape, I swap into my Mandibuzz for some reason, which is fine. We draw a Quillfish that is going to have Ice Beam, and I did end up shielding the first Ice Beam, but I'm going to have to take this second one. I don't want to give up any more shields. If my opponent lets this go, I can take them out, but of course they are going to give up one of their own shields, and now I am going to let Mandibuzz go, but I survive, and I don't want them to farm me down, so I swap into my Primeape. I do not like how I'm playing this, by the way. I'm not playing it very well, but my opponent brings their Claydol into our Primeape, which is telling me that their third Pokemon might be weak to my Primeape. I'm able to go for another Rage Fist against this Claydol. They let both of them go, but it's not enough to take them out. And then I managed to catch the Scorching Sands on my Mandibuzz, saving my Primeape for whatever my opponent's third Pokemon is going to be, but it is going to be a Drapion. I have a Primeape with a little bit of health and energy in the back, and I have a full health Drapion for their Drapion. So I might be in a good position here. I'm going to start going for these Aqua Tails, and I think I'm gonna let this Aqua Tail go and then swap into my Primeape because I should be able to reach a Cross Chop here. This will be enough to take them out. Again, this is why I really like Cross Chop. I'm able to Karate Chop their Quillfish down, and then I can come in with my Drapion and Poison Sting the very low HP Claydol that they have left, and we take that win. GG's to our opponent. I should say that we got very lucky there that my opponent didn't have a Fairy type in the back. But anyways, moving on to the next battle. Again, we are going to see another Mandibuzz on the lead. If my opponent doesn't swap out of this lead, I will just try to soft lose this. I think at one point I do try to catch one of the aerial aces on my own Mandibuzz to save my Drapion. But for this game, I believe we soft lose this lead. I should be able to survive this aerial ace and still get this next Aqua Tail off and get their Mandibuzz into the red. I can now come in with my own Mandibuzz and Air Slash them down. But again, they do that annoying thing where they save their Mandibuzz in the back. They bring in Quillfish. I am going to go ahead and shield the Ice Beam because I'm going to need to help my Primeape out a little bit. We managed to shield the Ice Beam, and then I am going to bring in Primeape and hope that my opponent doesn't call the Cross Chop. They don't. It lands. But I'm still going to have to take an Aqua Tail because it's not going to be enough to take them out. And then here, I wasn't counting. I really thought they wouldn't be able to make it to another Aqua Tail, but they do, and we have to give up our final shield. I think I end up losing this. Yeah, my opponent is going to be able to reach an aerial ace here. Again, this is one of the games that I didn't play very well, but my opponent's final Pokemon is a Drapion. And my Mandibuzz is in a range where the Aqua Tails are going to be enough to take us out before we can reach enough aerial aces to take this Drapion out. This is where I think spamminess could have been more useful to me. I think because I would have been able to reach 3 aerial aces against this, and I think that would have been enough to take them out. But their Mandibuzz is still alive in the back. I wonder if they are in farm down range. My opponent's going to be able to reach another Aqua Tail here anyways, take us out, and they are going to take that win. And that is going to be another loss for us. This next game is actually another loss as well, but we are going to be up against a Zweilous on the lead. I swap out immediately into my Mandibuzz because technically Zweilous is going to wall our Drapion, which is running Crunch and Aqua Tail. Both of those are going to be resisted, so I bring in Mandibuzz. Thank goodness they are staying in here, but they're running Dragon Pulse, which I was not expecting. I mean, it makes sense to not run a Dark type move in a meta where there are a lot of Dark types. So we take that Dragon Pulse on our Mandibuzz. They're able to take us out with the Zweilous. And then I bring in my Primeape. I should have just gone for the Cross Chop here because my opponent no-shielded a Rage Fist, which honestly I felt like I was going for an obvious close combat because I could have gone for a close combat and then swapped into my back Pokemon, but they let the Rage Fist go. I now am not able to take them out with the Aqua Tails from my Drapion, and I'm gonna have to let my Drapion go because I want to save my final shield for my Primeape, and their last Pokemon is a Quillfish, and the Quillfish is super spammy. I let the first Aqua Tail go, and it looks like they are going to be able to take us out with the Poison Stings. The Cross Chop is obviously not going to be enough to take them out, and that is going to be another loss for us. Moving on to the next battle, it looks like the game is feeling a little bit sorry for us because we are going to get a Behemoth on the lead, and that's going to be really good for our Drapion. But then my opponent swaps out into a Poliwrath, which is very interesting. I bring in Mandibuzz a little bit too late. At least I'm going to be able to reach an aerial ace against this Poliwrath, and we're able to take 2 icy wins from them, but I am going to go for another aerial ace. I'm not going to be able to farm them down. They let it go, which is really good for me because I do not want this Behemoth aligned to my Primeape. And I get super lucky that my opponent actually lets their Poliwrath go. But my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be a Primeape of their own. I should be in a good position here because if my opponent goes for a Rage Fist, I will survive and I still have both of my shields. I can go for an Aqua Tail, take a shield from them, and now we have shield advantage going into this Primeape mirror match, and I should be able to just stick to a Karate Chop down and take them out. So we are going to be able to fast move them down and take that win. GG's to our opponent, and that is going to be a 3-2 in that set. But the final set that we are going to play is a 5-0. Now, I told you guys I've reached the 2900s, but I don't have all of those battles recorded. That was when I was playing during the day today and I wasn't recording. So I just have one more set for you guys here, but it is a really good one. Anyways, in the next battle, we are going to be up against a Shadow Gardevoir on the lead, and my opponent swaps out into a Guzzlord. Again, going for that cross chop and landing it, and we are able to take the Guzzlord out with the cross chop and the karate chop damage, and then my opponent is going to bring that Shadow Gardevoir back in. We're able to land an Aqua Tail on the Shadow Gardevoir, and my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be that Claydol. I still have my Mandibuzz in the back. As soon as my opponent sees the Mandibuzz, they go ahead and they top left. But we're not going to be that lucky in the next battle because we are going to be up against a Claydol, and then I swap into my Primeape and I draw out a Rapidash. Oh no, could this be the dreaded double fairy backline that I am worried about? Let's see. I am going to be able to take a shield from them at least with the second Rage Fist, and then I can come in with my Drapion here and farm their Galarian Rapidash down. This is good. This means I have energy for the Claydol, and this crunch is going to hurt. Actually, we just need one more crunch to take that Claydol out, and my opponent only has one shield left. Are they going to use it here? Yes, they are. They end up shielding their Shadow Gardevoir. I still have a shield left. I can go ahead and shield my Drapion and farm this Gardevoir down and have energy for their Claydol. I'm going to go for a crunch here. Hopefully it's enough to take the Claydol out. It is. We're able to win against Claydol Double Fairy because we were able to get all that energy on our Drapion. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, again, we are going to be up against another Mandibuzz on the lead. These are probably getting boring to you guys, but this time I try to play a little bit differently. I'm going to go for another Aqua Tail here, and I'm actually going to try to catch one of the Aerial Aces on my Mandibuzz because they still haven't thrown any of their energy on my Drapion, so I decided to save it because it's still very healthy, and I catch the Aerial Ace on Mandibuzz. I'm also not expecting my opponent to have a Fairy type in the back. Again, most of the Mandibuzzes I have seen so far have had 2 Poison types in the back, so I'm okay with bringing out Drapion here. I'm just going to go for these Aerial Aces. Hopefully I can take them out and reach another one. Yes, this should be enough to KO if it lands. My opponent lets it go. We still both have 2 shields left each, and my opponent is going to have a Lucario in the back. This might be good for my Primeape. We'll see because their Mandibuzz is still alive. Again, Cross Chop coming in really handy for me there because my opponent was probably expecting a Rage Fist. They would have lived a Rage Fist, but because it's Cross Chop, we're able to take their Mandibuzz out. I'm able to get their Lucario super low into farm down range for my Mandibuzz, and we're able to take that win. GG's to our opponent. Who's that Pokemon on the lead? It's another Mandibuzz. Are we surprised? Wow, another Mandibuzz. Look at that. Again, going for these Aqua Tails to weaken this Mandibuzz. I wonder how I'm going to play this out. Most likely I'm going to stay in here if my opponent stays in, and I'll just soft lose this lead. But last game we had a window of opportunity to swap out with a very healthy Drapion, which is why I went ahead and caught the Aerial Ace on my Mandibuzz. But here I'm just going to go for one more Aqua Tail and... oh, and then I swapped for some reason. I gave up Switch, but again, because they are leading Mandibuzz, I'm not expecting them to have a Fairy type in the back. I also didn't want them farming my Drapion down. That would be very dangerous for my Primeape. But, interesting choice. I am playing this Mandibuzz lead slightly differently in each game, but we are up against the Drapion now, as expected. And I am going to go for an Aerial Ace here, and we actually get a shield from them, and they catch the next Aerial Ace on their Mandibuzz, which I'm really happy they did because they had energy on this Pokemon, and I do not want my Primeape to see it. They then bring their Drapion in and go for an Aqua Tail immediately, which is really good for me because I need them to get rid of some of that energy that they have. I still have to shield one of the Aqua Tails on my Primeape to keep it healthy, and my opponent's final Pokemon is actually going to be a Claydol. Because I was able to farm their Drapion down, I am going to be ahead on energy in this matchup, and I should be able to reach 3 Rage Fists, which is what I'm going to need to take this Claydol out because they have a shield left. But my opponent lets the first 2 go, and we're able to Karate Chop them down. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle. Okay, we've seen this lead 10 times now. Another Mandibuzz lead, but this time, I don't know what possessed me to catch the next Aerial Ace. I go for one more Aqua Tail here, and then I go for a catch on the Aerial Ace on my Mandibuzz, and I'm so happy I did this because this ends up winning me the game. My opponent has a Shadow Gardevoir in the back. So a different backline. I wasn't calling this. I just decided to play it this way, and it ends up working out for me. I'm able to get a shield from them with my Mandibuzz, and then I can come in with Drapion, go for an Aqua Tail, and thank goodness my opponent lets the Aqua Tail go because I have a Primeape in the back, and this Shadow Gardevoir is going to be terrible for my Primeape. Thank goodness they let it go. I'm able to come in, Karate Chop them down, shield the Triple Axle, and my opponent's final Pokemon is a Claydol. I just need to land 2 Rage Fists on this Claydol to take it out. We're able to take their final shield with the second Rage Fist, and now I can safely shield here, just keeping in mind that their Mandibuzz is still alive in the back, but I am going to be able to go for a Rage Fist on their Mandibuzz and have enough energy for another Rage Fist for their Claydol and take that win. Primeape absolutely shined there, but catching that Aerial Ace on my Mandibuzz also really saved my butt there, because if I had not done that, Gardevoir would have eaten my Primeape alive. But that is going to be a 5-0 in that last set, guys. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far. And if you guys like my content, please consider subscribing. Maybe leave a like. It helps me out so much. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye.